So I am here and available to all of you, and I will have a sheet with my contact information that Heather's going to print out for you guys. But please utilize that. It's all funded through grant funding, and I am here to help you guys. So that is my role. My previous experience before coming into this role was in residential treatment. And does anybody know what residential treatment centers are? So basically, whenever kids can't really be managed in their homes, and then also maybe can't be managed in foster care, residential treatment is that higher level of care that they get sent to when they have really extreme behaviors. So I worked with little kids as young as 3 years old that had behaviors that were considered so severe that they could not be managed even in foster care. And I've also worked with teenagers, so that's given me a lot of experience working with just a wide variety of kids with social, emotional, and behavioral needs. I also have a lot of experience working with children who have been traumatized or sexually abused. I actually worked with sexually abusive, meaning offenders, youth for quite some time, so that gave me a lot of experience in that field. And then I just have a history of being passionate about teaching others how to respond to kids, so that's what the majority of my career has been, just working with other people to help them respond to kids in a way that helps the kids learn and grow. And so I'm very passionate about the fact that when we change what we do as adults, it really can change what happens with kids, and then they can start learning and growing and being successful again. I also have a lot of experience with animal training and animal-assisted therapy, so a lot of parallels between animals and kids. I've done a lot of work with horses and dogs, and just a lot of similarities in how animals respond to us and how kids respond to us. And just a disclaimer, this training is called the 7 Skills of Conscious Discipline. I want to give Conscious Discipline credit because it's an amazing, amazing system, and I encourage you all to look it up and order their book. But I am not a certified conscious discipline trainer, so just want to put that out there, that I've kind of taken what they've done and tried to put it in my own language, but I really encourage you guys to look up conscious discipline, and I would encourage all of your daycares to purchase that book for your staff to be able to look at. I make copies from it all the time. So, all right, let's see if this is going to work for us. Apparently it's not. There we go. All right, so let me just switch on. So I'm going to take a little vote here because we're a little late getting started and I've got a lot of material packed in. I've got about a 10-minute video I can show, or if you guys feel really passionate about doing introductions, we can do introductions. Would you guys rather do introductions or video? Video. Figured that would be a tough choice. So
not even a discussion.
So I just have to shrink this for a second and pull up our video.
I don't think I've ever heard of a more unanimous.
I feel guilty because I always like to skip introductions, but then everybody complains later, we wanted to do introductions. So, but I think a lot of you guys know each other, and just I kind of looked over the list to see who's here. So we have Friendly Smiles. Do you have anyone from Friendly Smiles here? And then Little Lambs. Anybody from Little Lambs? Okay, and then District 51. Is anybody from District 51 here? Grand Valley Child Care. I see you guys. Little Mavericks. I see you guys. Monuments. Awesome. Thank you guys. Discovery Kids. Not quite the front row, all of you, but Fun on the Farm. Awesome. And then Riverside. And then we had a few independent providers. Did I miss any daycares that are here or preschools?
Just me.
Just you're like an independent provider? Okay, great. Thanks, you guys. It's really such a great opportunity to have everyone here. So, like I said, this is a 10-minute video. It's definitely worth watching, and I'm always boo-hooing by the end. So, let's see, did it not? It's not syncing with the screen. I don't know why we're having so many problems.
It's like somehow your computer's on a double image. There's usually which screen are you person?
There you go. Okay, let's try this this and hopefully we can get the PowerPoint back. And I'll just switch to the other one. Okay, can everyone hear?
It's in the back. It's like it's not, yeah, it's not playing for speakers. It's coming in the back.
Betty's, and I was born in Lacombe, Louisiana. I was raised by my grandmother. I was born to a 14-year-old mom and a 16-year-old dad, so they were young. They really weren't able to make too many decisions. I was very defiant, though. I love to get in trouble because of getting in trouble got your attention. I was the type of student where I loved attention, and I did whatever it took to get attention. I was the leader of a gang, and let me tell you why, because in a gang we got a sense of security and a sense of belonging. We feel like these my homies, they gonna take care of me, they got me, no matter what. So that gives us that sense of belonging. Fight. That was our only option. We had a disagreement, we fought. Whether we playing basketball, playing hide and go seek, it didn't matter. If it's a disagreement, we fight. So I was raised like that, and that was instilled in my head. It was no other option. You fight. You got to be violent. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, we like to fight in school because we know we had a crowd. So we continue to get kicked out of school. We jump people. I mean, just so much violence. I never was a second thought. When it came to my head, that's what I did. If I wanted to fight, boom, I'm fighting. If you're close enough where I can put my hands on you, I'm hitting you in your mouth. That's just how I was. I did go to juvenile twice. Me and my homeboys riding one time. We got pulled over by the police. The police found some pistols in the trunk, pistols up under the seat. And we weren't even headed to out of all the times we done had guns on us, headed to go do something, the police never stopped us. But this time we were just riding around with the guns, and they stopped us. And they confiscated all the guns and took us down, took the guns, and yeah, pretty bad. It was my first day of my senior year of school, and everybody was always telling me, since you hate school so much and you're ready to get out of school, then why don't you just go ahead and put forth a little effort and finish your senior year? And I didn't look at it like that. I looked at school as a place of this where I can associate. This when I can make people laugh. I can be a leader still because people want to see me. People want to follow me. I can look at girls, and if anything's going on between the hours of 8 and 3, it's gonna happen in school. So I didn't want to miss it. So that was my little motivation for school, to go to school, because I didn't want to miss anything. And I walked in Miss P class. That's what I call it, Miss P class late.
My name is Donna Porter, and I teach public speaking at Picayune Memorial High School in Picayune, Mississippi.
I knew. I sat back and thought about it. When you late to something, everybody looks at you.
And all of a sudden, the door flings open, and this huge student that I've never seen in my life walks in and says,
"What's up?" And she looked, and I said, "What's up?" You know, and I just had the attention of the class that fast.
My first thought is, why did this happen to me? On the first day of school when I'm trying to set the tone. And then I thought, I've got this. Thank goodness I've got this. But to be able to access my brilliance, I have to take a deep breath, stay composed, and watch him, look at his nonverbal language, because all behavior is purposeful.
She said, "Well, I noticed you're late to my room. There's no problem because you probably couldn't find it." I just kind of looked at her with this crazy look like, yeah, whatever. And she was like, "Well, have a seat." And I looked at her, I said, "Do you have any kids?"
And I said, "Well, actually, your name is DJ, Mr. Baptiste. I have two, and I just informed the class about it, but because you missed my room, you didn't hear. So are you married?" he said. And I said, "Actually, I just told the class I've been married for 30 years.
I stepped back and said, 30 years? Folded my arms, looked up and down and said, "Don't you think it's time for a change?" At that point in time right there, I expected her to get red in the face, lose her composure, run to her desk, get a referral, write me up and send me out. I was ready for that. That's what I expected. And now that I've learned the brain seeks patterns. So that was the pattern that my brain was seeking. You be disrespectful, you get somebody class, but you get the attention that you want. She didn't do that. She looked at me, she smiled, and said,
Do you go to the doctor when you're well?" And he looked at me very funny and said, "No, you go when you're sick." I said, "You come to school when you know everything?" He said, "I guess not. I guess you come supposedly to learn." I said, well, you've got a lot to learn and I can't wait to teach you. And then I left him with that feeling of angst. And then I said, you know what I noticed more importantly about you? You have charisma.
Charisma? You know, she was like, do you know what that means? I said, I'm cute. And she was like, something like that. She was like, but you just know how to work a room, you know? And I said, I was just listening to her. She was like, she threw me out because she started talking good about me after I wanted her to be kind of get into a power struggle with me. That's what I wanted.
And I said, so I've been thinking in the last few seconds, I give jobs to my students in high school. Do you know anything about jobs in school? He said, oh yeah. In kindergarten, I was the line leader. I said, we don't have a line leader in high school, but we have appropriate jobs. And I usually take a week or so to figure out what job would best fit what student. I do a multiple intelligence survey, and we tell a little bit about ourselves. But you know what, DJ? I don't need to do all that with you. Because you're innately designed to be a greeter. He's like, a greeter? What's that? And I said, a greeter is someone that will stand at my door every morning.
As everybody come in, I get to shake everybody's hand, appropriately hug the girls. That threw my mind off. And as she said, on top of that, I get to come in front of her class and have my own session for 2 to 3 minutes. How does that sound? That's what she said. I said, it sounds too good to be true, so let me run it back to you. I said, so you mean to tell me I get to stand outside your classroom, shake everybody's hand who comes by, then on top of that, I get to come in front of the class and have my own session? She was like, yeah. I said, well, I want, you know what I'm saying, I want to try this. She was like, but it's one catch. And I remember I dropped my head like I knew it was something, you know.
All you have to do is be on time.
Because if you're my greeter, that means you have to be the first one here so everybody get a chance to see you and shake your hand before they walk in my classroom. And I just remember shaking my head like, I try this, you know. I see what it's something here. I can't tell yet, but it was something there, and I just remember thinking I tried it. And she said, okay, pick up your backpack that you threw down and go have a seat. And that was the first day of my new life.
Day 2, I'm standing in the hall and I see this mass of people just partying, and the only figurative language I could think of is Moses parting the Red Sea. And here comes this huge guy, and I hear these words that are so important for anybody watching this video. Everybody move out of my way. I've got to get to Miss Porter's class on time because, listen, I have a job to do. I have a job to do. A disconnected child is a discouraged child. He needed to be encouraged, and every day he stood from day 2. He had been in the criminal justice center. He had been expelled from the alternative school. He had been in school out isolation, out of school suspension. Nothing worked. All he needed was to be encouraged. And he became my greeter. We usually have jobs just every 9 weeks, but by a unanimous vote of the class, he became the year-long greeter because they felt nobody could do the job as well as DJ.
I feel like the experiences that I went through in my life was meant to happen so I can come back and help kids, help teachers understand. I feel like I have a gift that I need to share, a testimony that I would like to share, and I know I can help kids along with teachers. Oftentimes teachers get into it with students, they have problems with students because they don't have the skills. And I feel like anytime I can help a teacher get the skills, she has a chance to save a life. And I often tell teachers, I want you to have the same success story that Ms. Porter had. I want you to have that student that you walk down the aisle with to that graduation. I want you to have that student that say he owes his life to you. And the only reason she has that is because she had the skills of conscious discipline. So
how do we tell people they get the best of both worlds?
Let's tell everyone Sprint is now offering the unlimited plan and an iconic phone for just $25 a month.
So you can get an unlimited plan. Samsung Galaxy S90 and Hulu included for just $25 a month.
I went to Sam's house, drop off town.
anything that's dealing with conscious discipline, I'm all for it.
And she had a journal. No baby. Didn't want her. No thanks.
That was pretty powerful, huh? a little bit of structure for what we're talking about today, get us warmed up. Let's see if I can get this PowerPoint working on here. If not, I'm going to switch computers. Okay, give it a try. Alright, so we're going to skip those introductions, but I do, one thing I was going to go through is just having everybody think about one person you knew as a child who positively impacted who you are today. And I'd like you to try to think of someone who's, I know a lot of times we think like mom, dad, try to think of someone that you weren't as close to as like mom or dad. Does that make sense? Because we have, a lot of times we have mixed positives and negatives with our parents. So to give you an example, the person that comes to my mind is my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Barkley. She was the stereotypical kindergarten teacher. She had like gray hair and it always wore it up in kind of a beehive bun. And she talked really quietly. She was just super gentle. And I don't think she ever met a kid that she didn't like. She just loved every single child. And it was very apparent to us as children that she did. So therefore, kids really listened to her. She never had kids in her class that had behavior problems. And if she did, the rest of us weren't aware of it because she responded to them in such a compassionate, loving way that we wouldn't have been aware that that might be a child with a behavior problem. So when I think about who positively impacted me, someone that I wasn't super connected to through my whole life, but when I look back as a role model, the person who comes to my mind is my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Barkley. So I want you guys just to take a minute, see if you can think of someone like that. Maybe write it down on your paper, so I'll keep you accountable to thinking of someone. And then I'll have just maybe a couple of you share someone that comes to mind. Has everyone thought of someone? Does anyone have one that they'd be willing to share just a few sentences about?
I actually just did my uncle's first wife. Her name was Lynn. I actually only met her a handful of times, but she was a first grade teacher, and I met her when I was probably 5 or 6. And so I was kind of the age group that she worked with, and she made a huge impact. She's the reason that I decided to go into education.
Wow.
She just had a super warm, loving heart, and you just everybody loved her. So.
Love it. Awesome. Somebody else? Was there someone over here?
Oh, it was my third, all teachers.
That's great.
My third grade teacher who, it was actually, I'm from Mexico, so we were celebrating the 6th of January, which is when the 3 wise men bring gifts to Jesus. And so everybody was going up to the front and doing like a show and tell, and I didn't have one.
Oh, wow.
And so when it was my turn, she knew that I didn't have a toy, so she came by and she asked me, well, what happened? And when she was asking me what I got, and I started crying. And so anyway, then the next day, she showed up with a big toy. And she said, oh, I just meant to tell you that the 3 wise men forgot your address, so they dropped it off at my house. And it was just it was such a nice token, but that actually taught me that it's better for us to realize that you need to just focus on what you have, learn to appreciate what you have, and then turn that, go the extra step, and then make sure that you give something to someone. Always be open for charity. You just never know who is in need of it.
That's wonderful. Yeah, how she
Nice.
responded compassionately to your needs. So what were some common themes you guys heard in those? We 3 shared some things, and then the video as well. What were some common themes that you heard as far as people that were role models? Kindness. Yeah. What else? Compassion. Yeah. The warmth, I heard. Teachers. Yeah. It sounds like people that really role modeled who you wanted to be, right? So it wasn't people that were super strict or always telling you what to do, but these people that just really role modeled those characteristics that stood out to you were able to make that big impact. So just a couple of quotes about that, just the idea that children learn more from who we are and what we do than what we say or how we discipline them sometimes. So today we're going to talk about some skills that we can all learn, so as we increase our skills and improve who we are, we actually have more of an influence on kids, and we can see changes in the kids around us. So conscious discipline has 7 skills that they teach: composure, encouragement, assertiveness, choices, positive intent, empathy, and consequences. I have added one to my training that I'm doing, and I'm just curious if anybody who knows me wants to take a guess at what I might have added. It's maybe really
Empathy.
Empathy. Well, so I added one that's not on here. There's another one that's not listed on here. Anybody want to take a guess that I've been working on? Connection. Yeah, connection. So, and connection they kind of group under composure, but I felt like it was important enough that I gave it its own category. So today we're going to talk about 4 of those skills. We're going to talk about composure, connection, encouragement, and we're going to skip to positive intent. We may run out of time before we get to positive intent, and if we do, I will move it into the next training. So I have a second part of this training because there's so much to talk about with each of these. So we'll just cover what we can today. So the thing I like about focusing on our skills is instead of focusing on the child's behavior, we focus on our own development and application of these skills. So for me, I get a challenging kid. I think it's super cool. I've spent my career working with challenging kids, and I just feel like, oh, this is such a great opportunity for me to learn more and to, improve my skills and then kind of improve who I am as a person. And so that's how I like to approach working with kids and with animals too. So first thing we're going to talk about, and also just wanted to point out one of those handouts back there. Did you guys all get this handout that has, so this has all the 7 skills on it, and I'm not going to really go over these handouts today, but I just want you guys to have this because it's kind of cool how they're summarized on here, so I just wanted to point out that you guys have that. So first thing we're going to talk about today, though, the overall kind of theme of conscious discipline is the idea that we are actually creating a school family. So your classroom, whether you're a preschool classroom or whether you have 2-year-olds, it doesn't matter, but that room is really your family. You get to set up that environment. Does that make sense? And so we really want to think about how we set that up. How many directors do I have here? A few directors. So you guys really get to set up that whole family of the center as well, which is awesome. So a few components of the school family: builds relationships with child and child's family, values and recognizes empathy and kindness, we kind of talked about in our examples, incorporates a compassionate response, answers the question, am I safe, in the positive, teaches skills instead of focusing on rewards and punishments, reflects our values, models responsibility, so I am responsible for my feelings and behaviors and the child is responsible for theirs, and values each individual member for their contribution. So I'd like you guys just to take a minute, choose 1 or 2 of these that you feel like your center or your classroom does really well at, and then choose 1 or 2 that you think you really need to work on. And I'd like a few of you maybe just to share if you feel comfortable. Does anybody have one they see that they feel like you're doing pretty well at right now?
The builds relationships with child and child's family.
Awesome.
And I think that's, unlike everyone else here, I imagine that they don't get that much one-on-one with families.
Right.
Because they're constantly,
they're just in and out. Yeah.
But I actually do enjoy, I'm able to have that opportunity with the children and the families.
That's
and
awesome.
I see them, year after year after year. So even when they come
you
back
might get to see them. Yeah, exactly. It's such a challenge though, because they're just kind of dragging the kids in, dragging them back out. So you don't have a lot of time. Anyone else see one that they feel like they're doing a pretty good job at?
I think reflects our values.
Awesome. Good. So you know what your values are and making sure that that's reflected in your center. Very good. Anyone see one up there that you think, wow, I'd really like for us to work on that one?
The Am I Safe?
Oh, beautiful.
I think a lot of the the staff, it's Riverside Educational Center, so we don't have the early childhood kids, but they're used to their version of what safe is instead of what the child's view of
Wow,
safety
that's
is.
a great way to put it.
So, it's, anyway.
Yeah, that's great. It's something that, starting with the director, if I'm the director, I have to make sure all the staff feel safe, right? And the staff are more likely to help the kids feel safe. Anyone else see one that they would like to work on, their center to work on?
I like that teaches skills instead of focusing on rewards and punishments,
Yes.
because parents are so
Great.
focused on the
I know.
rewards.
It's like such a pet peeve for me when I come into work with people, that always gets to be a big thing. And I think usually the first thing people ask me, well, what's the consequence? So, what consequence are we going to give this child? I'm like, whoa, let's just see where we're at first. Let's work on our skills. Let's kind of see how we can help first. And I've totally been guilty of coming into and thinking, oh my gosh, people aren't setting boundaries with these kids. We need more, we do need that consequence piece. Almost always I find out that was not the missing piece. Really, really interesting. Even when I jump there, I find I might not be right. So keep those in mind. Those are good ones to think about. So just kind of the basic foundation. I love to get into the social emotional piece, but you really can't get there until you have a structure. So when I walk into a classroom, if I pretend like I'm a child walking in this classroom, do I know what the rules are? Do I know what the teacher expects? Do I know what the basic structure is? Are the rules posted? Yes, the children can't read, but the adults can. And so it's a big indicator to me, like if the rules are posted, do we have, if you see on the side here where it kind of shows that lining up in class, do we have pictures of kind of what different routines look like? Do we have a schedule posted or some way the kids can kind of visually see the schedule? Because kids need that repetition day after day. Just because they did the schedule 2 months in a row doesn't mean they still know what the order is, so they kind of need that. Do we have different rituals? Are we doing like greeting rituals? Connecting songs. A lot of you guys have such wonderful songs you're using. They get people connected, looking into kids' eyes, holding hands. I'm just starting out with that basic connection. Conscious Discipline does this thing with a kindness tree that I really love. So the whole center can do this, where they have the kindness tree, and then people can get recognized for their acts of kindness. Make it even like a ceremony, make it something really special, so that we know the center values kindness, and kids figure out, oh, it's not just about how I line up or how I sit in a chair. Like there's these bigger values we're doing. So I think that's a cool idea. It also talks about the idea of like wishing people well. So if kids are out sick, other kids can make them cards. Just these things that we might do in our families, we can do them in school too. And then making sure everybody has a job. So sometimes we're good at getting kids these jobs in circle time, but trying to figure out how can we actually give kids jobs in the classroom where they feel useful. And so you can think outside of the box with that. They showed the idea of the greeter. We all know about line leaders, helping with lunch. But you can even be creative. If you've got a kid who likes attention, can he come in and tell a joke every day? Can he, be the joke teller for the week? Just be creative. Think outside of the box and figure out how kids can have something important that they can contribute to your classroom. So yeah, just really consider kind of the basic structure and how to define and encourage the values we're trying to teach and get those across, just like we do the base expectations. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on and talk about composure. This one I'm going to spend a lot of time on because composure is kind of one of my favorite ones. The concept of composure is really being the person you want others to become. One of my early childhood books talks about do unto others as you want others to do unto others. So a lot of times we hear do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But if you think about that as you want others to do unto others, you can really start to see that far-reaching impact of how we act and how it's really contagious. And so I think it's a really good rule to live by. The big idea is no one can make you angry or cause you to act outside of your values without your permission. Self-control means being in control of your own thoughts and feelings. And self-control is your first priority as a model of behavior. So the big idea here for me is I am responsible for myself. There's nothing any child can do, any parent can do that can bring me outside of my values or my behaviors that I feel are acceptable. Does that make sense? So down here at the bottom it says, in a well-managed situation between adult and child where the adult properly takes responsibility for themselves, the adult learns something positive and the child learns something positive. This can be true both in positive situations, and it can also be true in situations that we might initially consider negative. So even